So tell us, like, when do you start to play music?
I've always played music. I started piano sort of when I was 4 years old, started singing when I was about 7, and started teaching myself guitar when I was around 13 years old. And sort of that's been the focus since then. And play a little bit of tablas, Indian drums, a little bit of djembe drum as well. But mainly the guitar these days.
Yeah, and now it seems like you transform like the guitar in a kind of drum instrument as well.
Yeah, well, what I was doing here, I do a lot of stuff sampling beats live as well, and because I'm into a lot of electronic music, so and hip hop as well.
Yeah.
But I write pop songs, so it's all try to find ways to put that across on the acoustic guitar, because I'm not much good with technology and using decks and computers and that. So I have my way of transferring it to the acoustic guitar.
So there's a way of experimentation, of trying to reinvent or transform instrument or music as in traditional concept, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there are other people that definitely use the guitar as a percussive instrument, like flamenco players. It's been done for centuries and that. But I think the different styles of music I bring into my music hopefully is something quite unique. And when you hear me live with all my stuff, it's like hearing a band, hopefully, or an orchestra or something. And the record I've just finished making, which sounds really deep and multi-textured, every beat, every sound, every texture I made on the guitar.
By your own?
Yeah.
And you cut and paste as well?
I'm sorry?
You cut and paste, or sample like?
Yeah, we did a lot of sampling, like get some feedback and sample that and use that as a keyboard sound, so a lot of experimentation, but I wouldn't do it for every record. This is very much my first record, but I felt this one should be raw and it should be just me, and it came out great.
And how do you feel more recognized by your voice, by your lyrics, or the different tones you get when you're singing, or by the way you play the guitar and the drums and the guitar?
The drums and the guitar is quite a recent thing, because I've been writing songs for ages, and lyrics even before that, poetry. So the drums and the guitar has been great as a songwriter, because I'm writing, instead of writing to strumming or picking, which is sort of what you're limited to as a normal singer-songwriter, I'm writing to beats. So I'm writing songs that have more rhythmic, almost hip-hop kind of vibe to it. But I'd like to be recognized for the I guess the anthemic nature of the choruses and the message and the lyrics. I guess above all.
I'm not live, I'm not dead, like you say that in the lyrics, like it's like to be in trance, to be in music, like not know if you're alive or dead.
Well, that particular song is about the world around me, and I've been living in big cities for a while, and you're bombarded by the hype and media and advertising, and everyone's so just does what they're told, and it was a dream I had that I woke up from, and quickly wrote some stuff down and went back to sleep, and when I woke up the song was there, and it was so just about that, and people not thinking for themselves, and sort of all those books that you read, like Brave New World or 1984, and how in a way it seems to be coming true on a certain level. On a certain level, I think people are more aware and waking up, certain people, and then on another level, I think people are definitely a slave to the culture. And
do you have any key to deal against that society? Do you have any key to deal with this illness of society?
Well, at the moment, there's not much. I mean, there's, I suppose, art, literature, if it's real, can help wake people up, and then if there's integrity and people are doing it for the right reason, and it's not, there's loads of cool music and you can have fun, and there's pop music and it's great, but for me the best stuff like Bjork is playing here, and Radiohead, and there's a real soul to it, and that's, when I was growing up, my brother played me Pink Floyd, and it's just the stuff that I took to heart a lot more than the lessons I had at school and what I was seeing in the newspapers and religion. And
Yeah.
so for me, that's been my kind of religion. And so it's, I think that's it, you know, poetry, music, art.
What do you pray for in your religion?
Well, we're at a kind of crossroads as a human race. We're going one way or another way, and just generally awareness and people waking up and happiness. For myself, obviously, happiness and just exploring deeper and deeper in my music and in my life. But for the world, sure, you know, more and more awareness of people, of the world around, and just a lot of people seem to sleepwalk through their life, and
Yeah.
I see it around, I see it in friends of mine, you know, they don't really make any decisions, it just life sort of happens to them, and then it's gone.
Like a
you know?
paralysis or something.
Yeah. So, and that was the second song I played is called Live, and it's just like, just, you know, live, so you got a life, so you should enjoy it. And it's also to remind myself, because I get locked into the whole, the media thing and wanting to make it in music, and I forget why I'm doing it, and you know, for
Yeah.
the love. So it's the most important thing.
Yeah, sometimes you could disappear, like where you're singing, I suppose, just disconnect from everything, like from this saturated world of images and advertisements and craziness, like is around you. Is that music like a way through, like you could escape through?
To listen to music, yes.
And even to play them or sing it? Yeah.
Sure, to play it. And performing, it's a bit of a balancing act, because I often find myself shutting my eyes and being inside my music and really getting lost in it, but I also want to at the same time be putting it out there and giving it to people, so it's sort of, the song's always veering between those two things. So, but yeah, absolutely, you know, it is a way of losing yourself and finding yourself.
Yeah. And do you remember your last nightmare?
My last nightmare.
Do you usually have nightmares or not?
No, I have different sorts of dreams. So that's a good question. It'll come back to me. Ask me another question, I will remember it. I write down my dreams occasionally, but I had one where I saw a friend of mine. He was sort of an action-sized doll, and he was bleeding from the ears. It wasn't really a nightmare. It was just like, I think he's in trouble and I better call him, kind of thing. It's been a while since I had a really frightening nightmare, but I've had some.
And apart from music, what's the subject in your life that you learn most about being alive, or you're more concerned about?
A lot of literature, poetry. I'm trying to explore as much. I'm trying to make my life about the song, finding the song that's in me, all the songs that are in me, and so I'm trying to read as much, and I read a lot of everything from poetry to comic books to whatever.
Is there any particular writer you've been onto it recently?
Well, lately I've been reading comic books by a guy called Neil Gaiman, poetry by E.E. Cummings,
Yeah.
which is cool. It's very musical. Been listening to the Arcade Fire a whole lot, and Regina Spektor. What else? I've been on the road a lot. So I just have a few things that I'm checking out at the moment.
And what the road teach you, or what have you learned for being on the road?
I'm not sure yet, because I'm still on the road. I guess
Yeah,
when I get a chance to get off, and I'm from here, I think I'm going to be in America for 3 months. So I think after that I'll have a few weeks to sort of be like, okay, just take a breath and see, and then my record comes out, and then things are going to get crazy again.
And do you think that for getting a proper life, we need to avoid like big cities?
I'm sorry?
For reaching a proper life, or a life full of more sense, maybe it's necessary to avoid big cities or escape from them, or
Well,
start living in the countryside, maybe, or where?
I don't know, because I grew up I've lived in a lot of different cities now. I grew up in Cape Town, the southern tip of South Africa, it's a beautiful city, but there's not much in the way of culture and interesting stuff to see and do. But it's a beautiful place to live. Ideally, I think, is to live somewhere where you've got some space and you're able to get into the city and do and see things that you want. But there's definitely a part of me that feels like cities are the other side of sickness that's spreading across the earth, but they can be really exciting and energizing as well. It depends on the day. You know, you can wake up and hate it, and you can wake up and love it. It depends on people and what happens to people.
And that's the experience of being raised in South Africa. Like, in a way, like, influence your perception of limits, like, of your own limits and of the limits of people, in a way, like the separation, the apartheid, and...
Yeah, absolutely. When I grew up, I was quite a young kid when apartheid came down, and the city I was brought up in is a liberal city. It was never, but you know, it was segregated. I went to a mixed school, but that was unusual. My whole life has been a little bit about that thing about the outside, because I was born in Israel as well, and I was a Jewish person in a very Christian school, and I've always been a little bit outside. And on the one hand, it's made me quite unhappy in the past, but it's made me able to sort of look from the outside in, which I think is good if you're going to write. But I don't know that I'll ever be a happy person because of that. Yeah. But it's made my life very interesting.
What's the main root that you preserve from Israel, or the main sense, or? I left
Israel when I was very, very young. I'm not too sure, because I'm not really connected with the religious side of it, and politically as well. I don't think I know enough about what's going on to have a political comment. It's generally sadness, because and even in South Africa now, it's very wounded countries, and it's going to be a long time, if ever, that these
so you're not optimistic at all with the situation?
I wouldn't say I'm an optimist about Israel or South Africa, no. I wouldn't say that. I'd say there's definitely, there's never going to be peace, and there's never going to be, but I can't see it right now. In South Africa, I mean, obviously the political situation has stabilized, but there's lots of crime, lots of corruption, and I hope it doesn't go the way of what's happened to the rest of Africa when there've been colonies, and the colonies left, and because that would be sad, because for a few years it seemed like it was gonna really come up in the world and be an amazing place, and it could still be. And Israel's even tougher, because you're talking about 3,000 years of this ideological clash, and two very stubborn people that are basically cousins in the Bible, but it's basic ideological difference.
So which land belongs your identity?
To which side? Well, Israeli, South African, you mean?
No, your identity. If you have like roots in any place in particular, you feel more like rooted in South Africa rather than Israel, or?
At this point, no way. I also left South Africa as soon as I was finished with school. I got a connection to go to New York and work with record companies and make some music. So, and I lived in New York for many years. I'm living in London now. I spend more time in South Africa, and that's where my parents are. But I think I'm very up for now living in as many different places as possible. I don't think it doesn't feel like home when I go back there, and it's weird now because I don't really feel like home.
Yeah. So in a way, music was a way to save your life, or?
Definitely, yeah. It has been a lifesaver. Music and writing. I was a sad kid, and it definitely pulled me together in a lot of ways. And I didn't have a lot of friends when I was in school, and it was definitely something I just locked myself in my room and played and listened to music and wrote, and now it's taken me amazing places. I've met amazing people, and the adventure continues, and a lot of the new stuff I'm doing on the guitar and the new stuff I'm writing about, it's just opening up wider and wider.
So you're being like walking through by around like wolf, like lonely wolf, like doing your own way. Just the strength comes from inside you, like.
Yeah, someone asked me yesterday, you know, don't you get lonely one, because I don't even have a band, it's just me, and I actually kind of like that. Yeah, I've been wandering around the world on my own for a while still, and certain people are with me for some of the way. It is lonely, but it feels good. It feels like the right thing to do. I don't know if I'd get used to being in one place for very long.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of crazy, like that background, but in a way, like has helped you to explore your limit, I suppose, and to realize where your limits are. Do you know where your limits are?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what my limits are yet. I've got so many things I want to do. No, I mean, you can all, that, you know, if you see your life as an adventure or a journey or whatever, there's always more, there's definitely always more to learn. And, you know, you always think, fuck, I was so dumb back then. 5 years ago, I didn't know anything, and I'm like, I know so much now, and I'm so wise. And then a few years later, you're like, no, man, I didn't know anything. And I'm, you know, so I don't know, but yeah, it's been interesting, and you know, even my folks, I had a lot of clashes with when I was growing up, and my dad's very old generation, and he was born in Romania in World War II, and he had to run away from the Nazis. So I've had a weird upbringing, definitely.
You should write your story. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going shortly to, my father's returning to his village where he was born in a couple of weeks. I'm taking time off to go with him for a few days, which is going to be cool. It's going to be very strange, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Do you have a poem just to end like the interview?
A poem?
Yeah, if you remember any lyric in particular.
A song lyric?
Or a poem, yeah, just poetry, whatever comes to your head.
I wouldn't quote anyone's poem.
As an ending of the interview.
I wouldn't quote anyone's poem because I misquote it. Let me think of a song lyric of mine that I like. That works as poetry. I'm rushing through. Yes, it's a song called Angel and the Animal, which is about the two different sides of people in everyone. And that's, you know, the angel and the animal were always in your heart. And I like that lyric.
So cool.
Cool.
Thanks to you.
Thanks,
so much.
man. Cheers.
Nice to meet you, man.